Hello, my name's Mark Burbage. I'm the Quality and Development Lead for the ACI, and today here we're to introduce to our friends from across the Atlantic a segment called The Cannabis USA Calling. We're going to be covering the regulatory landscape for the UK and Europe and talking about what this means for companies currently in the space and those looking for opportunities to enter in the future. Today, I have with me Moira Cosgrove, the Head of Nutrition and External Affairs for NatureCan, with a specific responsibility around novel foods. NatureCan are a UK-based brand already spreading their footprint in markets across the globe. And I also have Joseph Collivar, the CFO for Sativa Wellness Group, and he's responsible for operations and novel foods for the Sativa organization. They have a number of companies across the space, encompassing a full seed-to-shelf production. We should have a really well-rounded conversation today covering the scientific, the safety aspects, and also the financial challenges that are affecting the UK market. So without further ado, Moira, please can you give me a bit of an introduction into yourself and also NatureCan?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name's Moira Cosgrove, and I am Head of Nutrition and External Affairs with NatureCan, which is a UK company in the CBD and nutritional supplement space. Now, NatureCan in this country is viewed as one of the most innovative players within the CBD space, and has a number of exclusive partnerships, both in the US and in Europe. And that is the provision of both CBD distillate and finished products. So one of the areas of innovation that we're really interested in is looking at enhanced bioavailability, because we know this is an issue with several nutrients and plant-based supplements, including CBD. So the enhanced bioavailability side is something that we're really pushing forward. We also can supply that to other companies within the UK. So my background personally is as a nutritionist, but also I've worked in marketing in the pharmaceutical industry and indeed in the nutritional supplement industry. So moving into CBD and its huge potential, how is this novel food situation, which is global, but particularly we're looking in the UK today, how is that going to affect NatureCan as a company, and how do we see it? Well, firstly, I must say, initially, going back a year even, it seemed really daunting, because the studies involved and what was looking likely to be required included very expensive toxicology studies, and the information required from the finished goods side and the manufacturing processes also looked to be very, very challenging for the supplement industry. And it was starting to look very much like a pharmaceutical regulatory process, which indeed it is. So very daunting, but as we've progressed through, we've really started to see the positive side of this, not just for our consumer, but also for business. So thinking of the customer of NatureCan, it's so important, and it really does run through our business. Everybody is most concerned that our consumer is going to be safe taking the products. And we want to provide the correct advice regarding, firstly, provide the correct product that is of the high quality and very safe, but then the information provided on who should take it, who shouldn't take it, and then the dosage, so that we stay within safe limits. That's really important. But on the business side, now it's just, this is a real win-win now, because the opportunity here with this industry growing so rapidly, for those companies who go through this process, they're committed to having a very safe product, then the opportunity is there for the taking, because clearly some companies who've jumped in on this will fall away. they will move out of the sector because they will not be able to or want to spend the money. It's a huge cost doing this novel food application. And they will either not be able to afford it or they won't want to, so they will move out of the space. So those companies that are left in the CBD sector will have more business available to them and really be able to grow the sector. And that growth will come primarily from consumer confidence, which these studies that we're having to put together for the novel food license come into play, and the consumer will be able to see very clearly that they're buying a safe product.
Absolutely, and that's imperative to the industry, especially given the plant that we're dealing with and the various stereotypes that exist around it. So thank you very much for that, Moira. And Joseph, if you could give us a little bit of an introduction into Sativa Wellness Group and yourself and the work that you do.
Hi everyone, yeah, my name's Joseph Colliver. I'm the CFO of Sativa Wellness Group. We're a publicly traded company both here in the UK on the AQSE exchange, in Canada on the CSE. We've got a listing in Frankfurt in Germany, and we're also just about to get our listing on the OTC in the US. So as you mentioned, Mark, we're a full sort of vertically integrated seed to consumer company. Through, we have full custody and control of our supply chain from planting the seed, the hemp seed in the ground, through cultivation, extraction and manufacturing in our facilities in Europe, in Poland and Romania, and also in the UK. And then we have, which I think is quite a key differentiator, our own testing laboratory. So consumer or customer facing laboratory called Phytovista that tests products on behalf of CBD manufacturers across the industry. And with our colleagues at Phytovista, we've been, and with the ACI and other trade bodies and entities, been calling for greater levels of testing and quality control across the industry. So we very much welcome the novel food process and agenda, and it meets with our core brand values in terms of delivering CBD you can trust. And in terms of our brands, we have Good Body Botanicals and Good Body Wellness products. And we've put a lot of time and effort over the last couple of years ensuring we've got the right labeling and consumer information so consumers can make an informed purchase. And as Moira was indicating, they need to understand exactly what's in the product in terms of CBD content, how much they should take, whether they should be taking it at all in terms of whether, if they're pregnant or have other conditions. And just having that full visibility and trust in the product in terms of certificates of analysis, making sure that they have the right testing, and that consumers can access that data to make those informed decisions. So we're very, very excited about the novel food process. It does require a lot of investment and expertise, both in-house with our laboratory team, but also working in partnership with our friends and colleagues in the ACI consortium to make sure that we have that broad breadth of expertise to be able to deliver a dossier that the FSA will accept. So we're very much looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joseph. And I would assume that vertically integrated way of working and having the testing side to your operations is very much supportive of the fact that you can build this novel food dossier together.
Indeed, yeah. So our laboratory team, we're working with other third-party labs, some big players, global players, to make sure that we're not marking our own homework, that we have other third parties testing our products, especially for the novel food process. But having that in-house expertise to be able to scrutinize the data, challenge it, interpret it, and make sure that you really understand what's in your product, all the way through the supply chain, from testing the biomass as it comes out of the field to make sure it hasn't got contaminants, heavy metals, pesticides, etc., and microbiology not present in the biomass. through to the extracts in terms of isolate, bulk extract, or distillate, broad spectrum distillate, which we sell on the wholesale market, then through to the end product. So we test at each of those stages of the life cycle, and I think that's going to stand us in good stead for this process.
Smashing. Thank you very much. And it really has been a challenging time for the UK cannabinoid space over the last couple of years. And as we've touched upon, the expense and the novel food process that's required is both takes a lot of time, takes a lot of expertise, and requires a large amount of money. And when you look at hurdles such as novel foods, the Misuse of Drugs Act, the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, and CBD potentially being declared a narcotic in Europe, as well as Brexit, it really has been an interesting time to say the least. But with that being said, the opportunity to enter into the UK market is huge, and the opportunities really is there. We've seen the market grow and grow day by day, with the sales now exceeding those of vitamin C and vitamin D combined, and we're looking at potentially a market size in excess of £1 billion beyond 2021. So for companies looking to work in a legal and regulated space, I personally feel that the UK is the place to be. And we're going to bring even more context and more understanding to this area. So you've heard novel foods mentioned by both Joseph and Moira. So in essence, all cannabinoids were declared a novel food in 2019 in the UK. So what does this mean? What is a novel food? A novel food is a product that's not been sold as a food product or food supplement on the market in Europe before March 1997. So what's the requirement? It's basically a safety study, a complex safety study, understanding does it cause damage in pregnancy, does it cause liver toxicity, are the manufacturing processes safe, and as Joseph touched upon, the testing from seed to shelf, showing that the supply chain is fully understood and mapped out in the safest way possible, is both benefit to companies and consumers. So in essence, this means that both raw materials and finished products are going to require a certain amount of testing. They need to prove the efficacy of the products. They need to be able to prove conformity between manufactured batches and what people are doing. So there's been a lot of work going on with companies as individuals or working collectively with us at the ACI to be able to generate the necessary data and bring everything up to the standard so that we're ready to be able to submit novel food applications to the UK FSA in early 2021 with a view of having a validated application beyond the 31st of March, which is when we'll really start beginning to see a change in the market. So Moira, you touched upon it to a degree, but can you give me a bit of an idea of what novel foods means for NatureCan going forwards, both submitting your application and then beyond April 2021?
Well, as you've said, Mark, no other country has provided the clear regulatory pathway for compliance in the CBD sector. So the UK really has got a huge opportunity here, and let's face it, it's one of the positive aspects of Brexit, which I know we're going to speak on a little bit later. But from NatureCan's perspective, this is our #1 priority at the moment. Everything in the future of NatureCan as a company and the development of the CBD sector, we believe, hinges on this novel food process. It's right that it should be happening. It's clearly consumer focused. It's the safety of the consumer is coming through as the #1 priority. Some companies believed that they would not have to produce toxicology reports to go through the novel food process. That has been categorically shown not to be the case. It is absolutely part of the process that toxicology reports are produced. And indeed, with the consortium of the ACI and with like-minded companies like Sativa, Joe's company, then we are proceeding forward, working towards those studies being ready for the application process. So we're very positive about that, because the starting point for growing your business, must be looking after your customer, no matter what business you're in, CBD, whatever it may be. That's number one, because to keep them coming back, they've got to have that confidence in you. And this consumer confidence, although the CBD sector is growing, there was a YouGov poll quite recently in this country. It showed a big awareness of CBD and people's willingness to try it. But when they looked at was consumer confidence in the labeling and the right information and whether the products are being tested, that was a different story. The confidence was very low. So this will boost that. It will really give the consumer, the prospective consumer, the confidence to go ahead and make that purchase. And that has got to be a good thing for the sector.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that consumer confidence, we see so many, and we all speak to friends and family that have tried CBD oil, and we see the benefits for so many different aspects of health that people use it for. But without that true confidence in it, which I believe that Novel Foods is going to bring, we're never going to have everybody fully engaged in what we're doing. So Joseph, over to you for Sativa. What are your feelings on Novel Foods, and how do you see it as a positive, a negative, or how do you see it presenting for you guys in the future?
Well, I very much echo Maura's comments there. You know, like I said, we very much welcome this regulatory pathway from the UK government, particularly the FSA. You know, we've got a clear pathway in terms of the data we need to provide to give those consumers their informed choice. So, like Maura touched on, I think getting access to toxicology and genotox data, so some real hard data sets to prove that the product is safe, that will be key. But also having that real trust in the supply chain. So companies that have a successful novel food application will have to demonstrate that they have a full understanding of all of the ingredients that are in their product, their manufacturing processes. They've fully documented their standard operating procedures, their quality control framework, and their products are fully tested by third-party laboratories. So I think it will give both the regulators and, you know, more importantly, the consumer that confidence in those products that are remaining on the shelf post the end of March 2021. And I think it will, you know, I think like we touched on, not all of the companies that are currently in the marketplace will have both the resources in terms of expertise to be able to go through this process and frankly the ability to invest. It is an expensive process, and that's why we have a dual strategy. So we are submitting our own novel food dossier for our CBD brands, Good Body Botanicals and Good Body Wellness, for our end products and for other for our white label partners that we manufacture for. So we're submitting our own dossier, but that dossier will very much be linked to our membership of the ACI consortium, and specifically to the genotox and toxicology data set that will come out of that study. And that's for our raw ingredients, because we're a bulk isolate and distillate wholesaler across Europe, as well as producing our own end products. So we've got a dual strategy, and you know, we're very confident in the ACI consortium and bringing together, you know, friends like Nutrican and other players in the industry who, you know, we're pooling together our resources to be able to make that significant investment in the toxicology studies that are required. So we see that as a winning strategy.
Thank you very much, Joseph. And it's so nice to see in an industry, seeing companies coming together, working on the consortium approach to be able to generate this data. I mean, the work that's gone in from Dr. Parveen Batara, our regulatory director at the ACI, Paul Duffy, the team at ADSL Laboratories, really has been monumental. And the way that everybody's come together to really engage in this process, the benefits that we each see from this, whether that be the cost saving or whether that be the overall generation of the data towards our novel food application, is absolutely fantastic. And you both touched upon, obviously, the data generation, the work that needs to be done around this. And obviously research and development in the cannabinoid space is massive, whether it be what you were talking about earlier, Moira, around the higher bioavailability of products, or whether that be working with universities to generate additional information for different areas. So I know, Joseph, you're working, obviously it's slightly off topic, but it's definitely prudent to the conversation in the medicinal space, some of the work that you guys are doing. And then Moira, I'll take it over to you to discuss some of the areas that you've been working on those sides.
Yeah, Nature Can have set up a partnership with Liverpool John Moores University, which is one of the globally recognised centres of excellence for research in both health and sport. And what we're looking at the moment, I'm going to start a professional doctorate with them, looking at the barriers to recommending CBD in health and sport. What are the current barriers that the regulatory bodies, the policy makers, if you're looking on the sports side, WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, they have a stake in this as well. What are the barriers to overcome to actually come to a point where everyone is confident about recommending CBD? So this is really exciting. And within that, we'll be looking at things like, if you're taking CBD every day, does it accumulate in the body? Again, it will look back at some of the toxicology studies that we're generating for novel food application. So it will all dovetail together, and we should come up with a really interesting data set from that point of view. But now the other aspect is, I mentioned policymakers, and part of my professional doctorate is going to be generating the links between the research universities and the policymakers at UK government level. Because currently it's recognised not just in this sector, but across the research in universities, that research is not being communicated to the policymakers, the people in the position to make the decisions. So surely they'd be able to make a more informed decision if they understand, and there will be some collaboration across those departments going forward. So it's a very, very exciting project that Nature Can have put together with Liverpool John Moores. And we're really hoping to generate some very interesting and positive data in the CBD sector.
That's fascinating and really exciting. We've seen the surge of interest in the sports area of CBD and sports people wanting to use it, whether it be for its calming effects or its anti-inflammatory effects, and that's some really exciting work. And Joseph, I understand that you guys at Sativa have been working hard with universities and generating medicinal data. So if you'd like to tell me a little bit about that, I'd be fascinated.
Yeah, sure. We have a research partnership with King's College London. Professor Clive Page and his team there, we're sponsoring a PhD student, and they're researching the efficacy of different cannabinoid profiles in the treatment of respiratory illnesses and indications. So looking at pure THC through to combination, different levels of cannabinoid profile between CBD and THC, and then down to CBD. And to prove the efficacy for respiratory illnesses. So not directly related to our novel food strategy, but as Maura indicated, I think the more data sets that are available out there into the wide range of indications that the cannabis plant can treat, I think that's better for the industry. And I completely agree and respect the approach of trying to bring that data to the policymakers. I think there's a wealth of data out there. It just needs to be consolidated and communicated in an appropriate manner to help the legislators, bring medicinal cannabis to patients and ultimately consumers. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's really exciting. We've seen anecdotal evidence on the benefits of cannabis on on respiratory illnesses for many years, but to actually be able to bring that data together is really exciting and something I'll be very interested to hear more about in the future. So thank you, Joseph. Um, so some of the other areas that are impacting on the UK and European space for cannabinoids is more recently we've heard in the news that CBD novel food applications with the European Commission have been paused due to a potential declaration of CBD as a narcotic. So, Joseph, how do you feel this will affect the UK market? Well, first of all, do you believe that CBD will be declared as a narcotic in Europe? And how do you think this affects the UK? And do you see it as a positive or a negative for sativa?
I think it's a very interesting topic. To answer the first question, no, I don't believe the EU will define CBD to be a narcotic. I think that would be very much against the grain or against the tide in terms of other bodies such as the World Health Organization and other sort of definition and categorization of CBD. So I personally think it's very unlikely that the EU will determined that CBD is a narcotic. It's not psychoactive, and I think it would be a very backward step for consumers, for millions of consumers that are using CBD products across Europe. So to answer that question, categorically no, I don't think that will happen. And I actually think in terms of the UK, we have a very clear pathway. The FSA have come quite clearly on record and said that they are maintaining the novel food process. Originally it was in parallel, but now it's separate to the European FSA and their approach. So the UK has been very clear, and I think it will facilitate the UK being a centre of excellence in Europe for the development of CBD products and hopefully eventually other cannabinoid products. We will be 6 months to a year, perhaps even more, ahead of the curve against our European partners and colleagues in terms of their novel food process. I think novel food is not going to go away. Once they've got over this debate about whether CBD is a narcotic, once they clear that hurdle, I think they will come back to the novel food process. The EFSA were clearly going down that route. So I think our European partners and colleagues will have to then embark on their novel food process. And like I said, I think we'll be a long way down that pathway. So, I'm quite hopeful in this sort of post-Brexit era that the UK can be a sort of a flag bearer, not only in the UK, but globally. Not only in Europe, but globally, in terms of a robust regulatory framework for quality CBD products, CBD that you can trust.
Absolutely, and just to echo Joseph's sentiment there, that the UK FSA have been very clear in the fact that once we leave the EU, which is going to be in January, they will be accepting novel food applications from UK-based companies and are fully behind a safe, legal and regulated CBD market in the UK, which certainly excites those of us that are in the industry and definitely promotes us as potentially being a centre of excellence globally in the future. So very exciting stuff, which kind of leads me on to my next question, which again I'm going to focus towards you, Joseph, in that obviously Brexit's coming. It's been on the tip of everyone's tongues for the past 2 years. How do you envisage this will affect the UK-based industry, other than the fact, obviously, it's presented an opportunity for us on the novel food side? Do you see it as a positive, or do you see any negatives attributed towards Brexit?
I think Brexit, it's going to have, across all industries, there's going to be a bit of an impact. We've got to make sure that as companies that our supply chain is robust, that we're not, we're ensuring there's no bottlenecks in terms of sourcing products, ingredients, packaging, materials from the EU or vice versa, shipping into the EU. So as a European company, we're very focused on that, and we're future-proofing our supply chain, as I know, our other colleagues and partners in the ACI consortium are. I think, there'll be impact in terms of labeling. If you're selling into the EU, you make sure that your products, consumer products, are labeled appropriately. So yeah, there will be some behind the scenes work that we'll need to do to make sure that our products are available and our supply chain is uninterrupted. But I don't see it as being a major hurdle. It's just something that we will overcome. And in terms of the sort of wider regulatory environment in the EU as a whole, I think it's encouraging that the EU are reviewing the THC limit for hemp cultivation in Europe. The current level is 0.2%, and there's a working paper to raise that to 0.3%, which is more in line with our North American sort of partners and colleagues. So I think that will level the playing field to a certain extent, and it could be quite exciting in terms of introducing perhaps some of the seed strains that are grown in North America into Europe and to be covered by the EU approved seed strain or seed list. So I think that's quite an exciting prospect for next year, for 2021, in terms of CBD cultivation, hemp cultivation, and that rise to 0.3%. I think that's very encouraging.
Absolutely.
Can I just say I would absolutely agree with what Joe said, and I think the big standout benefit of Brexit, because we're done debating, this is reality now. The big standout benefit in the context of the conversation we're having this morning is that we're not being held back whilst the EU are having this debate internally. We are going ahead, and that portal for our submissions will open in January, and we'll be in there. And that is very, very good news for the future of the UK CBD industry and globally.
Absolutely, and very exciting as well with the potential harmonization of the THC limits in products for cultivation as well. I know that in the US there's been much more of a focus on increasing the amount of cannabinoids that can be created within female flowering tops, whereas the EU official strain list is more focused on hemp and fiber. So I definitely think this will present a great opportunity for us in the future. So Moira, Joseph, thank you very much for your time today. I think it's been a really fruitful talk. I hope that for those of you that have joined it or joining us from across the Atlantic, you found this useful. And if you do have any further questions, please visit the ACI website, the Association for the Cannabinoid Industry. We'd be more than happy to support you with any inquiries that you may have going forward. And again, thank you very much, Moira. Thank you, Joseph, and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Maura.
Thank you.
Cheers.
we're looking to encourage people to introduce cannabis into their skincare, instead of just, taking that risk, blindly jumping off a cliff into the whole world of cannabis skincare, where you have, especially in the market right now, you have products where they don't list the milligram content. You have products with
CBD on them at all.
Exactly. You have products where it's just hemp seed oil, but they'll talk about how hemp is rich in CBD, but this product doesn't actually contain any CBD. And it's like, how is that legal?